learning it discursively. It's about dialogically engaging. That's where the actual teaching and learning happens, right?
Or human interaction.
Yeah. But on the other hand, I could see students jamming with something that was set up to be some kind of learning format and it going in another direction, right? That's where McLuhan says any format's contents is actually a completely new form. And I think that's true. Like LMAO, right? Right? Where the content makes its own new formal language. It makes its own context.
Even Google, I'm gonna Google that.
Yeah. See, and Google's a great example. You can get information, no problem. But what's the value of the information? How do you integrate that information? What's the history of that knowledge base?
And is it gonna stay with you if it's so easily accessible?
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of leads into the next question. How important is the human side of education?
I see that as being the only side of education. Walter Murch, the editor that won an Oscar both for picture and for sound, the only editor to ever do that. Amazing. His insights into the editing process is what all nonlinear editing programs are based on. He's invented it, and he also made a calculator for how much money a production was wasting per minute. So, amazing mind created these amazing tools and interfaces. And to quote, well, to roughly quote him, his idea of the cinema is that it's the oldest thing in the world. It's people sitting around a fire telling stories. Right? So I think I would take Walter Murch as an inspiration to say, yeah, you know, it's the human side that matters, and the technology is merely, on the one hand, a medium, and on the other hand, it's never really transparent, right? It takes our knowledges and experiences in different directions, and we make other things out of it too.
Can that medium be improved for future students?
Oh, absolutely. There's going to be a day when I say, do you remember way back in that year where we carried huge computing objects around? How absurd was that? Now it's implanted in my eye.
Oh, God.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's always going to change and it's always going to be improved. It's just how we learn to value it. I mean, on the one hand, we're a completely technophilic culture, right? To the point where it's not really transparent. We're some of the highest consumers in the world, right? So that alone, I think, the fact that technology has to be ethical in its resource and human resource production and distribution and decomposition, that I hope changes a lot.
All right.
Yeah.
How can professors best pursue a student-driven approach to technology in the classroom in order to maintain a non-narcissistic implementation?
Absolutely non-hierarchical, too, I think, is by being student-driven. I think it's probably more interesting the ways that students have learned to glitch cameras since they were babies than some way that I might interact with technology. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably the most interesting, or the sort of discourse and jokes, even in the context of our video class, people would bring in specific viewing contexts that would inform the shape of their approach to video making, which would be completely different from my context, because I'm schooled by old school video artists, not from YouTube, right? So I have a totally different cultural context. So I think, again, it's about the content side of dialogue, where the students are actually generating the context for their work. And they will, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially as art students, they're creating the future of whatever that discourse and dialogue is.
Alrighty. I think we covered everything. Is there anything else that you'd want to say about that overall?
I can come across as being really anti-technology, but I'm not. I mean, I use
I know you're not.
everything from, I'm working on a Maximus P jitter piece right now with the Kinect sensor, and I've got a few programmers going, oh, okay, we're kind of pushing what that can do in these regards. But then I'm also knitting cigarettes, you know? I love the whole spectrum, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's about the ideas and the technologies matching.
So just being aware of the technology so you could use the medium as an artist is helpful for you.
Yeah, and honestly, I guess I did initially start working, when I was working both with digital video as it was quickly evolving and Foundry. When I was working with both things, I think my interest in both cases was the learning curve I was on. So I was learning as much as I could about Foundry. Well, a lot of that information doesn't really change right now,
Mm-hmm.
right? Whereas with new technologies, the learning curve is constant. And I think that's part of what I'm really interested in about it, is that people are inventing things all the time, and you can learn about that. You can see what it'll do and what it'll fail at, and maybe it'll fail at that beautifully. You don't know, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for your time.
Yeah, Rebecca. The media professor that
I got
hates
turned on.
technology.
You're gonna get in so much trouble. Wait till we edit it. I hate technology. I'm just gonna cut out the words.